We're in a student accommodation building belonging to Bournemouth University, which houses over 450 students, comprises of a retail space downstairs and then single individual apartments for international students. So Starfish Construction were approached to investigate and undertake the replacement of the cladding on the entire building, and actually to improve the current cladding system with a more stringent fire-tested cladding system. So part of the process of selection for choosing the replacement materials on the cladding we had to undertake as part of the instruction from the client was what they call a BS 8414 fire test. So we built a identical replica sample in Belfast in a fire testing centre, and with the selected products that we intended to use on the replacement, we set fire to it, and it underwent a complete burning test to simulate if a fire broke out, how would it spread or if it would spread, and if the selected materials were actually combustible or of a non-combustible nature. This building was quite a good example in that is there was quite a few parties involved, from consultants to design input to financial input, due to the nature of the occupants of the building being international students and part of the larger Bournemouth University. We had to go through a very strict and stringent, from tender process to contract award through to design and then actually the operational works on site. So in total we had about 11 parties involved at any one time that we had to seek either approval, permission or consult during the design right through to the operational stage. So Starfish Construction's philosophy of diagnose, design, deliver lent very well into this project, due to the complexities of removing the façade and installing a new improved façade system. So we had to spend a lot of time investigating the façade and the project as a whole before we could even strike a blow on the actual work face, to use a phrase. The design process was very intense and laborious because of the new materials to be used and the new methods of installing those materials. So we had to seek approval from all the clients and consultants prior to even being able to deliver materials on site. And then the actual delivery was complex as well, because it was a fully working building at the time that was fully occupied all the way throughout the project. And actually the occupancy increased as we got on stages into the project with the term time changes and the influx of new international students. Because the building was fully occupied, the works entailed all operational works from the outside of the building. So we were contracted to remove all of the cladding back to the bare structure, to its original bare structure, and then replace the entire cladding system. So as I said, because it was occupied inside and fully operational, all our works had to be from the outside. So that was a combination of scaffolding, mast climbers and suspended access cradles. Due to the visibility of the actual project, it's located on one of the main streets within Bournemouth and the number of residents and occupants of the building. We had to make sure that we maintained a constant flow of information both ways. So we had to keep all the residents constantly informed, but also the clients at the same time. So we always work on a basis of a weekly report, fortnightly reports, and then typical for this type of building with residents and members of the public having access to it, we always supply like an information board. So at all times the residents and users of the building knew what was going on outside, knew the progress and durations and the works that were undertaken. On this project, Starfish Construction are quite happy to say that as we sit here in January 2023, that with the replacement cladding we've put on and the work involved, it now meets the current building regulations, and if not, over-exceeds and outperforms the current regulations. Particular detail and time was spent on designing a fire barrier system within the cladding to ensure that future-proofing the building, and as we move through the changes in regulations, the building will remain to be compliant. It was a nice project for Starfish Construction in terms of we had so much feedback, positive feedback from the residents at the time when we started, right through, because the project was an 18-month duration. So to receive positive feedback from international students and us being able to give the parents of those students that they're sending overseas peace of mind that they are in a new modern building that will sustain for the next 25 years. So the building's at its highest point is 14 floors, which goes down to an 8-floor section, and the cladding's spread over 25 separate elevations, and we installed 3 different types of cladding on those elevations. During the planning and then right through to operational and then completion of the project, it's been a very positive project over a whole. Due to the nature of the clients and stakeholders involved in the project, it was a very transparent method of working, which is unusual to some other projects, where all parties, including the end client, end user and actual owner of the building, were involved in every stage from design, approving safety documentation, site visits, client walks around, consultant sign-offs. So the whole project as a whole has always been a positive turnout. This project's been a good example as why you should come to Starfish Construction. You know, we've had a very transparent approach to this building with the client and involving all parties. We've delivered the project within budget, on time, and the most important factor being safely. You know, the building is now futurised for the next 25 years.